And we're live. Hey, welcome everybody to the live stream. Today we've got another topic. By the way, this is Master Chat number 17. It's amazing how many we've done so far. And today's topic, of course, is hiring and retaining top talent. And what have we done? We've invited our guest speaker, Steve Klein, and he basically runs a marketing agency as well as help people in recruitment and hiring. And so we're going to pick his brains to find out what works, what doesn't work, and what's happening right now. And of course, we have the usual bandits, Randall and Neil, to talk about. First of all, everybody's doing okay?
All good, yep.
All right.
Fantastic.
There you go. Well, we'll kick this off. I'll first by saying that Steve, you may have a little challenge with your internet because you're in Ottawa, and you guys just had like a hurricane, tornado / storm, right? How is that going for you?
Well, I'll tell you, it's been a true test of a lot of people's patience because we've been without power mostly for the last 7-8 days, many of us. And last night we got teased a little bit because the power came back on Wednesday, but last night it just mysteriously stopped around 5:30, just to make sure that we were all sort of reminded about what it's like to not have power, no internet, no cell phones. We've been in a world of hurt here in Ottawa for sure.
Well, our thoughts are with you, and like they say, the show goes on, so it is what it is. So unless a tree comes crashing into your window, right, we will continue this session. All right, so let's talk about this challenge we're having today. So to give you a bit of an overview of where we're going to take this today, we're first going to talk about what's happening in the last 24 months, right? Particularly the change in the job market and what's happening. And then we're going to review some of the secrets, if you will, from Steve, but how do you win this battle, right? And it is a battle, right, for talent. And then we're going to talk about how you stand out in a crowd of a whole whack of companies trying to do the exact same thing, which is hire the people that's out there. And then we will talk about some of the ways you can design recruitment ads and tactics that's going to help, that actually works to attract the right candidates. And then we're going to show some cool examples from around the world of how people are leveraging videos and ads to sort of like attract talent. So that's the broad strokes. But first question to you, Steve, today. What the hell happened in the last 24 months? Why is it so hard now to find and retain people?
Well, I call it the perfect storm, Julian. You got all these different factors, and we're all in the survival mode during the pandemic, and we just sometimes just don't get above sort of the day to day. But when you think about it, you got this sort of massive expansion of the economy from where we were back in 2020 and 2021. And a huge increase in the number of job postings, job availabilities, and job vacancies. Right now in Canada, there's record job vacancies. There's hundreds of thousands of open positions across the country. And on top of that, you've got all these changing demographics. So we've got more and more boomers retiring, the rise of the Gen Z generation, and them coming into the workforce with a vengeance. Then you've got this thing called immigration. They've turned the tap on. We read about that every day. Hundreds of thousands of immigrants are coming to Canada now. And then on top of that, you've got this phenomenon called, I'm not working downtown anymore, right? I want to work from home, right? And so you've got this sort of all this migration from urban centers in Canada into the rural areas and into the country, right? So on top of that, you've got all these changing employee attitudes towards work and towards employers and how they feel about working and what they're looking for. We're going to talk about today, working. And then on top of that, I counted this morning, Julian, I was out for a drive. I counted 100 we're hiring, now hiring signs out there. You got so many people advertising we're hiring, but they're not answering the question, why come here, right? Which is what we're going to talk about. So between all these employee attitudes that are changing about the importance of benefits and what they're really looking for from their employer, on top of that, you've got all this research from the University of Texas, which is basically talking about the fact that we're living in an age called the Great Resignation, right? Half the employees that are working today are either looking actively or they're going to be looking actively according to the latest research. So that's a wake-up call for all of us who are in a leadership position in the company today. Look to your left, half your employees are vulnerable. So all these factors combine to form what I call the perfect storm. And it behooves all of us leaders to have an action plan to not only keep our prized possessions, our employees, but also go get more. And so that's what this whole masterclass is all about.
Very good overview. You know, it's like really true. You got to also retain your employees, right? I want Neil and Randall to chime in. Who wants to go first? Randall, jump in.
I had a question. You know, Steve, you got boots on the ground. We're talking about finding and retaining. Based on your experience and by talking to those your clients, which one is more dire right now? Is it the finding or is it the retaining?
I would say they're both dire. I would say finding is a harder challenge because many companies just don't know how to find people in the kind of environment with all the kind of turbulence in the employment market that's going on right now. This is not just a matter of just like what we did before, Randall, which is, hey, we'll just dump those on ZipRecruiter or on Indeed, or we'll have a little LinkedIn post. We're good. This is war. This is a battle for talent. This requires a whole new mindset and set of tactics if you're going to win that in this particular battle, right? And so a lot of people just this is all new. I call it you're now in the employees market, right? This isn't an employer's market. This is an employees market. They're running the show. They're making the decisions. We have to change because back in the old days, pre-pandemic, if I can call them old days, it wasn't that long ago. You know, we were good. We posted an ad. We did all the traditional recruiting tactics, and we got the employees we were looking for, and life was good. Now it's a completely different environment and requires a completely different game plan.
And what are you thinking, Neil?
Well, I think, I mean, it makes so much sense. And where my brain's going straight away is that on two areas, really, that it's always been hard when you bring sales team to attract and retain quality sales professionals. Because by nature, they are a migratory species. You know, they're going to go and work for your company for 3 to 5 years, maybe, and then looking to move on anyway. So they're not averse to a choice. So when you get into that buying frenzy, and it's like there's an extra point on the commission skier here, you get an extra allowance on a bit of a car here. It's always been the case that's easy to lure these sales professionals away. Now add in some extra powers like you can work from home, and all these other things, like it drives them away. So that's kind of on the kind of like my kind of like negative take. On the positive side, what I would say in terms of our own business is that we've always worked a hybrid model. We've always worked where we've got an office, but most people work remote. We come into the office when there are team meetings or if you choose to. So in that sense, we were kind of like already future-proofed. And you may remember, I do this kind of like sales talk when I'm talking about sales skills. And I go, actually, historically, and I'm picking this up from what Steve said because I thought it was brilliant, whereas in the old days when it was sales, the sales guys were armed with the information, so they were in power. Then it changed with the digital revolution, and suddenly the consumer had all the knowledge. So that power dynamics changed. And it's interesting now that from what Stephen's saying, it's now washed down into actually the business. So it used to be, like you said, before pandemic, we owned the business. We were in control. We're no longer in control. So again, I think I must say the same thing as every MasterChat, which is that it's the board, it's the business owners which need to start to evolve and go, actually, what we're going to kind of do to bring them in. And that always makes me think of a quote, which I'm going to mangle from Richard Branson, which is treat people so well they can leave, but that they've been treated so well they don't leave. And I think that's what we've got to do.
Good points. Let's talk a bit about the perks, right? That we're hearing about that employees are offering employees to come on board. What's your favorite that you've heard so far? Steve, what are you hearing? What are people doing to attract employees?
I would say the first thing is really trying to distinguish between what you were offering before and then what's on the package right now. Like there's a simple kind of concept, just a little what we call an accountant's T account. You probably can't see it. I do it in an accountant's T account is just pluses and minuses, right?
Yeah.
left hand, make yourself a little scorecard. So that's what I would do when I do an assessment for my clients. Say, okay, what were you offering people before? Make the list. Pre-pandemic, whatever it is, salary, perks, lunches, expense accounts, car allowances, whatever that was. You know, we have a benefits plan, whatever it is, bonuses, perks. You take them out to lunch, you take, vacation, whatever that list was pre-pandemic, make it on the left-hand side of your list. And then on the right-hand side, say, okay, given what Steve Klein just talked about, what that new reality is out there, what are we going to do that's different, right? What are we going to do? For example, I'm talking from a home office. Neil, yes. You, Randall, yes. So if I were trying to lure you, I might want to have a nice home office subsidy, because we are all now spending a lot more time in our home workspaces. And you know what? I need some pictures. Julian, I need a better headset. Yes. I need some funds. Oh, I want to redecorate that corner over there. I need a new printer, whatever. I need a decorator to come in. Oh, geez, I want that fabulous chair that I see on TV, on the BBC latest ads for the X Factor chair or whatever it's called. It's a $2,000 or £2,000 chair, right? So all of a sudden you're coming up with a subsidy, a decor and equipment subsidy, which is meant to help your staff to have a really good setup like they would at work, but now they're working differently. So that would be one, right? Second would be what I call the expansion of health benefits, particularly COVID-related benefits, like COVID sick leave. I don't know where you are, but here in Ottawa, there's still COVID everywhere, right? So still it's out there. And so it's causing people to have to stay home to take care of their kids. They get a symptom, they have to stay home. And so if you came up with a special COVID sick leave arrangement, then that would be, something that would be special. So again, so those would be the two or three kind of, ones that come to mind, Julian.
Yeah.
I just kind of emphasize you need to take a blank sheet of paper, get your team together and say, what can we put on this list on the right-hand side of this ledger? What's new that we can add so that we have more whys to come to work for Randall? And I've got more to sell and more to pitch prospective candidates in the new recruiting campaign that we're going to run for you.
Got it. Randall and Neil, do you want to add anything to that you would add on that right side of the list?
Well, I think one of the things I can do is because obviously there's two costs where you can apply. There's kind of the real value add, so the genuine benefits we add there, and also there's space for some perception of benefits. So I would say put a wrapper around that. So in other words, it's like, okay, if you're working from home, not only are we going to give you these benefits, but on the soft side, actually, we're going to do an assessment of your workspace. So we're going to tell you what you actually need. So if we think your desk is too small or you're sat too close to the wall, then we're going to provide those upgrades. So you're actually only complying with health and safety regulations, but you turn it into a process. So I would say, yes, we've got to increase the tangibles, but we'll also, as a species, we love those soft benefits as well. So I'd add those in as well. I think on the sales front, what I'd say with sales guys, I'm a great fan of, especially now a lot of product is sold on recurring revenue. Tie them in with the commission structures. Okay, you're selling a high ticket item, we pay commission on that annually. So if I get someone on a 3-year program, it's like you want that extra big chunk of money that gives you another reason to hang around, at least till you get the next commission in. So I would say, to look at commission structure, maybe go to a monthly, a quarterly, and annually, or split it across the team. There's so many ways in terms you can make that work as a good retention tool. Because again, I'm always going to go back to those dirty salespeople because it's where I come from, and we like to find the gaps.
I love that point. That's a really great point for MSPs out there, because you want to tie your salespeople to kind of an evergreen system, right? You're going to make money for as long as you retain that client. And then if you add to it, then your money becomes more and more every month that you get, right, as a commission.
Yeah.
Randall, go ahead.
I was going to say, by and large, whether the products are structured that way. So this is vastly out of date because it's been years since these products have been available. But I'm going to go back to the old days of Microsoft Open Value, Microsoft Select License, all this type of stuff. And it always was the case that if you could sell them on a 3-year agreement, your rate's better. So you can afford a bit more commission, but you're not paying it all up front. You're paying it annually. So look at your different licensing schemes, like which ones work really well to get that long-term retention. Other things you can do. So I'm just going to rattle on this, like, so I apologise. But one of the things, the other thing which you can do is actually, in some organisations I've worked with, what they've done is they've given the employees the choice: is do you want the commission out now, or we'll reinvest it in the business? And then what you can do is you can draw that money out again in 3 years, 5 years, and it will grow as a percentage as the business grows. So all those type of things are great ways to go. We reward that loyalty, and some of those aren't costing anything up front. So it's a great way of getting that loyalty.
Or options and shares and stuff. Randall, you got some fun ones?
Well, I think Steve is the master of not doing things that everybody else is doing. He brings excitement to new ideas into a company. That's why people hire him. And it makes me think of the book, Giftology by John Rohn. And that book is so amazing because it talks about surprising people and doing things that are unexpected. And sometimes it's not even about rewarding the employee, but maybe even rewarding the family in some way. So I always like the one example, which was hiring somebody to clean the house. Not that it's, it's not anybody's responsibility. It's the whole family's responsibility to do it. But just that could be a huge burden of somebody who's working, trying to juggle work and family life, and having that one thing taken off, which includes the home office, of course. It could be a nice little perk that just could be a bonus. I mean, it could be for whoever else is living in that household. That's one thing less they have to think about. So sometimes it's just thinking outside the box. And that's why I'm interested about hearing what Steve has to say, because he's the master of finding ways to wow these companies and finding things that are just that will give an element of surprise and out of the ordinary. And I think that's important right now, because we're in an age where, if you look at social media, everything, we're just bombarded. And you really have to stand out. And the best way to do that is to do something out of the ordinary. And that's where you got to get creative.
Good points. I mean, and Steve, you could chime in as well. What other things you think you could do in there to sweeten that pot up?
I cannot emphasize enough the importance of the little things and going out of your way to be special and different and to say thank you to your staff. And I'm going to hold up. I just opened my desk, right? So the other day, a couple of months ago, this envelope arrived in the mail. Like, that's the snail mail. We all know that still exists. So it was hand addressed, right? And I didn't recognize the return address on there, Mr. Steve Klein, and it was addressed to my wife as well, Mr. Steve Klein and my spouse. So she brings this from the mailbox. Can you imagine? It's in a little handwritten note. Like, it's a personal note. She doesn't recognize it. She's dying to find out what it is. So we open this up together. There's a thank you note from our CEO saying, "Dear Steve, want to really, really appreciate how you've been working at the Extension Marketing, and thank you for bringing all these clients and doing such stellar work." And he went on, a couple of paragraphs. And then I got a gift certificate, for $100 to take my spouse out for dinner, right? So you might say, well, like, it's just $100. But yes, last week, another gift arrived 2 months later, a bottle of specialty gin from a local distillery that's artisan distillery that's opened up, right? So I just got this gift box, right? So to Neil's point, I'm in sales as well as helping clients. We're all in sales. It's the little things that my wife she said, wow. Like, you can imagine, just from what Randall says, to find ways to give little stuff, little things, even some big things, but to your staff, and it will go so far to cementing your relationship and really, really impressing them about and giving them the impression that they're really important. If you can make people feel really important and valued in little ways like this, man, it goes a long way. Our staff have been with Extension for a long time, and one of the reasons is that our CEO goes out of his way with simple little things to say thank you.
Makes a lot of sense. The kind of things I've been hearing about as well is like, so working from home means the kids are at home from schooling and so on. So companies have been helping the kids to kind of set up better, right? get them a better broadband access, get them the right computer equipment so they could not use the work computer, things like that. We've seen people play with the 4-day week, right? So that's starting to bubble up now more and more. So if you get your job done in 4, take the 5th off, right? Type thing. We're seeing people, deliver food quite often to their employees, not just groceries as well, even because you can do these things now, right? And as we know, inflation is really hitting the roof a little bit. So, I think it's really bringing
Julian, gas cards.
gift cards,
Gas
cards.
cards.
gas cards. There you go,
Okay,
gas cards.
how many of us are filling up? And I don't know what it is in pounds, Neil, but Canadian dollars. The average SUV is $120, $150 ticket, right? So if you can help out, and that's after tax money. I mean, that's again. So be inventive, but the more you can do that for.
One you can definitely do in the UK is we have this little tax benefit called incidental benefits. I don't know if you have the equivalent down there in Canada or in the States, but what it does mean, if you're a limited company, each director once per quarter can take £100 out. It's kind of like a thank you from the company. You can't give that money to the staff, but you can buy things which you give to the staff. So in some cases, like, okay, well, if there's 4 directors, that's £400 a month of gifts which you could just give away. And again, it's just not going to the tax man. So who doesn't rather help your team rather than the tax man?
Good point. In other words, dig in, figure out all these little additional incentives that could actually, not very expensive, but it actually can go a far way because it can actually show you care, right? I think that's what it comes down to.
And I think people share a lot. They share on social media. You can do a little digging and really find out what they're interested in. One person might love golf. Another person might love barbecuing. Another one likes custom, craft gin. So really going a little bit out of your way just shows how much you care. It doesn't take that long. People, they share way too much information on social media. So it's very easy to find out that, for example, I love motorbikes and signed vinyl. There you go.
There
you
you
want to
go.
get me a gift? Signed vinyl by a local band.
Well, send me a motorcycle. I'll be happy with that. All right. So Steve, let's look at the bigger picture now moving forward. So we're about 22 minutes into the session, and let's try to turn now. We've identified the problem, the situation, how you can mediate it, and figure the left side of the column, the right side of the column. This is interesting. Now let's talk about now what? So here you are, an MSP or a tech company in general, and you've got to hire great talent. You've got to keep your talent, right? And I would assume as well, we're talking about, it's not just about the perks you put on the right side for the new hires, right? Because if you're going to hire new, right, and give them these perks, you better be doing something similar to your employees that you already have, right? I mean, the last thing you want to find out as an employee is that I'm making 100K and they just hired someone new without my experience for 130K, and I'm still having 100K, right? You don't want to have that experience. So what about that, by the way? How do you balance hiring the people by incentivizing it even more, sweeten up the pot, so to speak, as compared to the current employees? Don't you have to have both of them rise at the same time, or what do you do?
You definitely have to have both rising at the same time. And always remember, it took me a few years in business to learn this lesson. We live in the age of the sharing generations. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's an open book. If you have sort of the tail end of what I call Gen X, Gen Y, this is huge. The social generation, Gen Z, their offspring. The same thing, right? It's just that everyone's open. They're open either in social media, they're open amongst themselves in their friend groups, they're open everywhere with their family. So what it is you're doing is open, right? Don't kid yourself. Even if you have confidentiality agreements with your employees, don't kid yourself about how open your business with your staff is. And be aware of that, right? So I would echo what Julian said. Don't make the mistake of not treating your new staff better than your old staff in any different way. Take care of business first, right? The next advice, Julian, to answer your question is I always tell my clients, so show me, tell me the story and show me. Where is that story of working for Randall Work? Where is that story? Like, where is it, right? And what I normally find is that most companies, more than 90% of them, are not very good at telling the story of why someone should work there and what the current employees are getting out of their work experience with that particular employer. So you got to get the story out with your current staff, right? You have to build what I call a foundation for winning the battle, right? So you got to document and tell captivating stories about what people are experiencing as they're working for you, serving customers and working within teams within your organization, right? It's relatively easy to tell a story if you have a game plan to do that. And so, people say, well, Steve, what do you really mean? Well, I said, well, let's just talk about your culture, right? What's really important to you? Like, how well do you treat your staff? What do they think about you? All these things need to be documented in either videos or written reviews on Google, for example, videos that are on your website, on your own YouTube channel, in all of your ads, or even audio interviews with your staff. Or in some sort of social media like a Facebook Live broadcast, or in an ongoing podcast that you as a CEO are producing every week or month to communicate to your staff, right? So there's all these different sort of, or in some sort of regular employee blog, there's a lot of different types of strategies and tactics to kind of get the word out, but you got to tell a story. So if you have that plan, you're reinforcing all this messaging and that why work for you, and then you can take that collateral and all that storyboard material and then start applying it in a recruiting context to attract new employees.
What I'll do, now is probably
That leads us to a video, yeah.
Yeah, we were looking at that video. Maybe it's time for us to do a little show and tell. So hang tight. I'm going to play a video of exactly a company that is sort of telling the story, right, about it. So here we go. First video clip.
My name is Brianna Caggiano.
Kyle Van Winkle, Ricky Banks, Noah Cooper,
Tracy Fields. And I've been working at ListTrack for a year and a half. No. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm really sorry. A year and 1 month.
If I were to describe ListTrack with one word, it would by far be awesome.
Collaborative,
Innovative.
challenging,
Energetic.
integrity. This company operates with a level of integrity that I haven't seen at any other company or corporation.
I am a developer and I work with the code that is in our platform.
I am here to make sure that the onboarding of our clients is successful.
I contact e-commerce companies, and my job is just to reach out and tell them that they should be working with ListTrack.
I think my favorite part is just being able to be hands-on and get into investigate new technologies. Obviously, the people are great too.
I would say
Well, there you go. That's an example where you can create, of course, the video is a little bit long, right? Up 2 minutes and 45 seconds, but they've already got 41,000 views on that video, right? And it's really just having the employees tell their story. It's a little bit, promotional-ish, right? But it's in between one. It's actually showing you real people that actually work in the company. And I like the one with employee number one, right? When the person is there saying, and I'm still here, type thing, right? So that's a really interesting video. I'll play another one after that's a little bit funnier. But what do you guys think about doing videos like that about your company to showcase your team?
I think it's great. We really got the vibe of this particular place of employment. I really like the fact that one person says, I've been working here a year and a half. No, scratch that. It's a year and 1 month.
Yeah.
It just kind of felt natural. Like they weren't overly planning it. it even made it sound better because it's like, oh, it seems like I've been here longer, but it's actually a short time. So it means they feel comfortable. So all these little nuances give us a good idea of what it's like to work there.
And then
Yeah,
Neil, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really good. I mean, I think the key thing there, I think what Steve picked up excellent, is that use of this word with an organisation of culture, because you can't fake culture. And sometimes when you do things, it's like, okay, we construct this image of our picture of our perfect brand, but the staff don't believe it because it's not their experience internally. So what I like from that is you got the sense that there's culture there. I did think in places it looked quite staged. So it's kind of like, hey, you want to stand there and talk. So I maybe it could have been a slightly less formal for me, but I think that notion of getting your culture in front of the lens with real people with authentic stories, I think it's got to be done. But I'd be interested on Steve's perspective there, because in my experience, there's always a concern with company owners letting the inmates become in charge of the asylum. There's that reluctance sometimes that we know we want to talk about good culture, but provided it's the good culture we want them to talk about. You know what I'm saying?
Steve?
Yeah, you said something earlier before that answered that question, Neil, which really struck me, and that's the word genuine, right? Whatever you do to promote your company, the key word and the benchmark is being genuine, right? You got to be authentic. People today, more than ever, they have such a short attention span, and they'll suss it out, right? So I'm not a fan of spending thousands and hundreds and like crazy money trying to produce some Hollywood slick or London slick video production. You got to produce little videos that really tell the genuine truth about what it's like to work for you. Now I'm going to ask Julian, maybe he can do this for me. So I'm going to introduce this. We won't play the whole thing. So that's your question, Neil. In 2013, it's a long time ago, right? When I was running this marketing company here in Ottawa, I had it was a boutique. I had 12 people working for me. We sat down at end of day. I had our videographer there, and I had nothing to do with this. My staff did this whole video, and it was entitled "Why Join MB?" Right? It's a little bit dated, but it kind of illustrates, Neil, if you select the right team, all right, and give them the ball, tell them what you want, and remember, authentic, right? So it's got to be believable, right? It's amazing what people can do if they're given the opportunity.
Well, let's play a little bit of that. Let's jump back into the video play. So here we go. Why join MB?
Why join MB?
Innovative. I would definitely say cutting edge. Rewarding, challenging, dynamic, evolving, fast paced, energizing, and just a little bit more.
It's a huge adventure. That's why people come here. They want to be part of something really special. They want to make a contribution. They want to help grow the company.
We're kind of a one-stop shop. One size fits all. We can offer services in many different areas because there are so many experts in different fields here. So what's so exciting is every day for me, I actually get to, one day I might be writing a marketing plan, the next day, I'm doing public relations and video production, which are the areas that I specify in. Some other time I might be helping to plan an event. You just never know what you're going to do here, and I find that really refreshing.
Everybody's either Gen Y or Gen X, so we have a lot in common, and everybody wants the same goal. We want to be working in marketing. We want to be working in Ottawa. We love the city. We love the companies that we work for.
Socially, we have a ton of fun. I think it's really important to enjoy the people that you work with. And when I come into work, I don't really see it being at work because I enjoy myself so much.
All right. So there you go. That's a little the one that you did. So yeah, I mean, you could see you're getting people to say what it's like to work there and why they like to hang out and so on. What's your comments on that, Steve?
Well, I mean, it's a bit dated, but it really illustrates Neil's point. I just keep saying you got to be authentic and you got to be original, and again, it can't be choreographed. and it's got to be real. And the more that you are that way, especially and quickly to the points, right? The happier and more effective your advertising and promotion will be. And I have to say is when you involve employees in the way in which Neil's suggesting, then you have the double bonus of commitment and being part of something bigger and building something. And these are all kind of very much dynamic motivating factors for staff.
What do you think, Neil or Randall?
Yeah, I mean, I for me, it's the key thing. I think this is the interesting we have, because when you're looking outside at other businesses, all this stuff is gold dust, and they should all be using it. My concern is, being in that consultancy space, with one of my other hats, is that this type of change is quite hard for large companies to make. If you go back to like when social media became a thing, it's like, okay, we want social media for our business, so we'll train you to do social media, but it's got to be on brand. It's got to be corporate. So I think the challenge is how, possibly with the support of the HR department, they generally embed it through. I had a call the other day with the outgoing CEO of Xero in Europe, and it was very interesting because he was saying up until the day he left, all new members of staff in their first week came to him for an hour where he explained the values and the culture of the business, which I thought was brilliant at one hand, but concerned me on another, because he's gone now. So who now does that session? So I think for me, it's kind of like I've always got that kind of like that dual perspective, which is, yeah, the printers were brilliant. We should all be doing it. I'd like to think we've got lots of those going on with our business. But I think one of the challenges is, and Stephen can probably speak more to this, is that how do you actually get a business which has maybe been trading 25, 30 years, it's got all its processes, its systems. The board don't really integrate with the staff on a day-to-day basis anymore. They just come in, have their meetings and go away again. How do you then, in those organisations, encourage and incentivize change? Or are they just going to be like dinosaurs and they will become extinct?
Interesting.
Well, I think that's sort of a good segue into thank you, Neil, into Julian, the sort of secrets to winning the battle for talent, right? Because I think the first secret and the biggest secret in any kind of change effort is you as a business at whatever level have to make going after top talent your number one activity. It can't be over there anymore. We've explained all the reasons why the environment is completely different. And you've got 9, 10, 20, 30, you've got international competitors, you've got everybody trying to clean your clock. The new currency for success is top talent. So to me, I got to be obsessed with getting that talent and making whatever changes in my organization are needed so that I win that game. It's that huge mindset change. It's not over there in HR. It's a CEO and a board preoccupation. They have to be obsessed with becoming the best employer to work for in their space and making whatever changes are needed to whatever in their company, a blank slate. And we got to change up, or else we're going to lose this game.
I saw a really good example of that, Julian, in the UK, in London, with a top marketing company. I won't brand drop them because don't want to give them free publicity because they don't need it. But they have a very good policy, where they did like an open day, and obviously being a company people want to work for, they're not short of applicants. And the first thing they do is all about culture and values. And at the end of that presentation, they go, if you are not 110% committed to our culture and our values now, we will pay you £1,000 to leave right now. And people do. They get up and leave. They go, no, it's not for me. But I have £1,000. What a really bold, brave thing, though, to just start to filter out the people who ultimately... Because, again, the other thing which I always think about when I think about recruitment is that if I know what questions are going to be asked, I can build model answers. If I know the way I should behave in an interview, I can learn to do that. So I'm sure we've all had experience where you hire the perfect candidate on like probation period, and they're perfect for the first 3 months. But month 4, the wheels fall off the wagon, and then it takes another 6 to 9 months to manage them out of the business. So again, find ways to screen some of these people out.
Wow, just open up a can of worms there. That's an interesting topic right there. Interview questions and finding the right person. I was sitting next to somebody who was conducting an interview. We're just sharing some space, and they asked me if it was okay to use the boardroom while I was there. And I was listening. I had my noise canceling headphones, but I can still listen here a bit. And it was just the most textbook questions about what's your biggest strength, what's your biggest weakness. which every single person knows that question is going to come, so they prepare an answer for it, but it's not really going to find them any deeper answers than the amount of time that the person kind of invested in preparing, which is already something good. But that to me is interesting. What are some of the good interview questions that could be used for the recruitment purpose to really get a little bit more down to finding out if this is the right candidate? Do you have any tips on that, maybe, Steve?
So, Randall, I'm going to be controversial, right? I love your question, but I'm going to turn around. One of my secrets is to treat applicants like you'd want to be treated in the best possible circumstance. Yes?
Yeah.
And so what does that mean in the context of the question you just asked me? So I don't hold interviews anymore. That's yesterday's HR term for a meeting. I call this a discovery meeting, right? Because to Neil's point, you're trying to determine fit. So I explained, we part of treating people really well and standing out, because Randall, my context is I'm talking to Julian, Neil, and 9 other companies. I'm a top software programmer, and I could make $250,000 US without even breathing hard. So I'm talking to a whole bunch of employers. And so the more you sort of tailor your process so it's different and mutual interest based, yes, a discovery, a diligence process, the more you're going to impress your candidates and stand out from everybody else. That's one of the secrets. Be different. Treat people like gold, like you want to be treated in the best possible circumstance, right out of the gate. So that means the questions you ask have to be re-engineered so that you're not acting like a 20th century HR manager. Sorry, I'm just being honest.
Mm-hmm. You know, interesting points, and I want to bring up one other point as well. Competition is now global because people can work from anywhere at any time and anyhow, right? So while you might be, looking for a job, there are people in multiple countries could also be applying for that job. I mean, the only thing that's the exception is, of course, the place where there's a physical location, like a cafe or a restaurant and things like this, where geography matters, right? But a lot of jobs now, I don't know what the number is, honestly, but I would say well over half the jobs are remotable, if there is such a word. That means you could be anywhere, working from anywhere. And, I do know that companies or people who are developers in particular, they sometimes are working for multiple vendors or multiple companies full time. They're pulling down 2 paychecks, right? And they're kind of like, trying to do their best to juggle the 2 job descriptions together. But they're pulling down 2 paychecks. So instead of getting 1 paycheck for a management job, no, I'm going to take 2 developer paycheck jobs and make 50% more money or whatever, right? So the competition is now global, without borders, I should say, where geography is no longer an issue. Anybody want to chime in and how that could impact what we're doing now to recruit talent?
Well, I'm going to, if I come in on a positive slant, Julian, the positive slant is you can find the best people and the best cultural fit. So definitely we have members of the staff who are based all over Europe, down as far as Australia and New Zealand. Why? Because for the particular roles, they were not only brilliant technology-wise, but they also a brilliant cultural fit with the board. Because I'm sure Steve will be glad of this, but the way that we work is we're just a flat organisation. So whether it's me, the CEO, a director, or the janitor, everyone's opinion is the same. We're not interested in having any form of differentiation. So on the positive slant, it's brilliant because it means you don't have to go, I have a small geographical pool and I've got to find the best person I can find there. You can actually go, I can cast my net a lot wider and go, I just want the best person. And I would definitely say as well, from our point of view, we've happily paid 15, 20% more than we originally thought when we made the right candidate, because we go, wow, we really like you. So because we really like you, we're not going to insult you with this offer. We'll up it a little bit more. So that's my kind of like my positive slant on it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good stuff.
point.
Nando, can you think of a negative?
There really is a negative. It's just because the pool, I think, is now open without borders, that you've got to bring your A game. This is what we're talking about now, right? Companies, employers have to bring their A game. If you're A minus, good luck, right? Because people are getting more and more creative all day, every day. You know what? I want to play one more video of the one that seems to be the most creative, if you will, in terms of attracting top talent. Why not? Let's see how the smart people are doing it out there. Let me find the stuff. Put the screen. Here we go. And we're a go. It starts out Dutch, but it gets.
Welcome to Event Insight. I assume you're here for the job interview. Before entering, I would kindly request you to accept our cookie policy.
Would you like a crackling or bubble?
Don't mind her. She's officially responsible for all the bits and bytes. Here you go.
God damn it. Firewall's down again. Andrew, light it up, will you? Hey, poker face.
I'm about to raise big time. We don't fault here.
Ah, I see you've met our investors. Always playing with money. Come on, let me give you a tour around the office. Now, as a company, we take security very seriously, so we save nothing in the cloud. You might say it's always sunny in the office. Here's our sales director, real workaholic, this one, never takes vacation.
You need to start immediately. Still wasting your time.
Here's a picture from when we all quarantined together. Some people even brought their family. This colleague's family never left, though. Hey, guys. How you doing? We had to hire all kinds of colleagues all over the world, like your new German team. This is the office dog Dolly. She loves meatballs. Okay. And meet your new UK.
You get the idea. You know, today the question of you see a funny video like that as an example, right? Is definitely going to pique your interest, right? Is it true that the culture is like that when you land? You'd have to imagine if they put it together and it's not like that, then it's not going to be. It's going to be disappointing.
What?
Right?
No meatballs?
Yeah, no meatballs. But it's interesting. So this is another example where you need to get your team involved, right? And when you get your team involved and be a little authentic, and even if you can be funny, right? Then you can really get across a really good message across. So this is a very high quality production, obviously, right? With interesting scripting and so on. What do you think about something like this, Steve?
I think in the right setting for the right company, this might work for sure. The only thing I would say, is you have to be careful about the length. We live in a world where 5 and 10 seconds is a long time. And so I always say to clients, you know what, this recruiting video, maybe 60 seconds, and it better be pretty fast moving. And maybe we're going to produce several different versions of it to use it in different applications. Fast is best today. So,
all right.
I also think it's an interesting exercise because I think we touched on it before about what a business owner or a CEO might think the culture is might be different from what it is. So having your staff kind of tell you what the culture is might be surprising, or it might be comforting. You never know, but it is a good exercise to do. And I think that's something that Steve does with his clients does that T list and is able to kind of bring that up to the forefront because it has to be done with intent. You cannot leave this to chance. You have to have a company culture with intent. And that comes from getting to know what your what your employees enjoy, what they don't like, and then coming up with a plan, sometimes together.
We've got about 10 minutes left on this session. So I want to just round it out. So we've seen a few videos about how people are promoting their company, promoting to attract talent, of course, and at the same time promoting their employees and their company at the same time. So it's almost a two-edged sword. You're doing some of this, it's promoting your company as a marketing tool, but it's also attracting talent because, hey, I'd like to work for that company. It looks funny type stuff, right? So there's that benefit. But let's look at the bigger picture here. Not everybody can afford stuff like that, right? And not everybody can be as funny. I know we're not funny. I'm not funny, right? So it's difficult to kind of produce these things. So when you really get down to like things that we can actually reach, attainable, situations, right? I think that's where Steve, you bring people down from the stratosphere back to earth, right? It's wonderful to do all these things, but what is really gonna matter when you recruit talent and retain them? All right. So let's do a bit of a summary, if you will, Steve, from your perspective. If you're advising companies today who don't have that crazy budget and or skill set to be funny, right? How would you advise them to approach retaining and also recruiting talent?
One of my secrets, and Julian, you've sort of a great segue into it, right? Is I always say to CEOs, how much money are you spending on sales and marketing, Neil? Right? And how much is that? And what's the marketing budget here? Oh, and I had this discussion with a CEO just yesterday, and he said, Steve, where are you going with this? I said, no, I'm just curious. We're trying to chase customers. You're looking for new business. How much money are you spending in that activity? And the answer came out from him, $550,000, he said to me. I said, great, he knew the number. I thought that was check. That was really good, right? And then I said, let's just talk recruiting. We've established earlier in this broadcast that recruiting, we would advocate, is the number one activity that you as a CEO should be, because it's the new currency for success. Not customers, but people, particularly really good, exceptional, top talent type people, right? So I said to the CEO, I'm looking for at least $550,000 is the answer to that question in terms of how much should I spend? Because recruiting talent is the number one activity. It's more important than getting customers, Neo, now, because we all have too many customers and not enough staff. So I guess, Julian, that one of my secrets is invest and provide enough resources, financial and staffing wise, to get this job done to win the battle for talent. I'm saying. So maybe you would debate with me whether the budgets for finding top talent should be equal to the sales and marketing budget. But let's just begin with the discussion about, you've got to fund this activity and make it uber important in terms of your balance sheet and where you're going as a company.
Makes sense.
So again, one of my themes today is forget the 20th century HR budget and the whole idea of just spending $1 looking for talent when you're spending $29 looking for a new customer. Because right now the new staff is way more important because most people have got lots of business in the current economy.
Totally. I just want to also throw another number out there, and I think maybe it's even higher than this now, but the data shows that when to replace a hire, right? When you make a mistake, it's around $13,000 to $15,000, right? That you'll be burning, and I'm sure that number is even higher when you factor everybody's time and energy. So hiring bad or wrong talent is very expensive. All right. You cannot have a revolving door. And I would even suggest that if your company has a revolving door, people leaving consistently, regularly after shorter periods of time, the problem is probably you and not the employees. So you want to look a little bit deeper into your soul and find out who are you, right? And what are you doing, right? So it is very costly when you make mistakes, right? And at the same token, today we're living in a digital first world. So you better start to skill up your current staff to take advantage and leverage that. Because if you don't, and they're constantly looking in the rearview mirror in the past, then you're now going to be at a disadvantage because the employees that you have in that you're retaining may not be the ones that you would like to retain long term, right? So you want to add a component of training and skilling up constantly, always be learning. This is one of the big motivation factors for a lot of people as well. Can they continually learn within the company and up the skills to meet today's needs, right? So you don't want to have the same folks doing the same things, pressing the same buttons forever, right? You've got to look at your resource, your human resource, and really figure out, what's the right thing for the company and the right fit and all these things. So there's a lot of moving parts here, we can talk about it. We got 4 minutes left, and I want to just have every person do a bit of a wrap up. So let me just start with Randall, and I'll go to Neil, then Steve. So Randall, what's your wrap up in this thing?
Well, I kind of want to reframe this conversation from the lens of an MSP. So an MSP, obviously, like Steve just mentioned, lots of clients missing talent to take care of all these clients to make sure they're happy and they retain not only the employees, but the clients too. So certain things that you can do as an MSP might be really thinking about ways to onboard people to make sure that you get the right people. And I always think, and I'm sure you probably think the same way, Steve, but you hire for personality, and you can always train knowledge, but you can never change a person's personality. So that other company, Neil, that you talked about, that gives $1,000 if you leave, they were asked, how do you get everybody to smile in your company? They just said, we hire people who smile. So I think it's really important to, as an MSP, to have the right tools to find the right people. And one of the best suggestions I heard was to create, let's say you're getting a help desk person, and it's easy to create a VM right now. Create a VM with like 10 problems and give it to them and let them see if they can figure what those are, and give them a time limit. And then you just reboot that VM. It's a test for the next person. That's one thing that you can do, is give them an actual hands-on experience to see how they perform. It might be something for, as an MSP lens, a way to really get to know if you're getting the right people.
Good point. Neil, what's your roundup?
I'm going to go slightly further back. Let's say that, Steve is the expert here in terms of recruitment strategy. He's given us nothing but brilliant tips this evening. So I'm going to go back and just pick on one area and go, as an organization, so this applies to anybody business, but especially MSP, focus on the culture. Because if the culture is right at the heart of the business from the owners downwards, then you will be able to attract the right people because you'll tell the correct stories. And you retain your best staff because they believe and are bought into your culture. So I guess my takeaway really is actually, if you're watching this and you're a director, you're a senior manager in the business, don't just say your value statement as something you print on the wall. Are you living it? Because don't avoid those disconnects, because again, for that retention, that's what people think. I've definitely been in a situation where I've been sold a job with a vision, and I've gone through the door and everyone's just gone, oh, that's all lies. That's all just window dressing, it's all nothing. So please, I'm begging you, go back and fix your cultures.
So Steve, I'll leave you with the last minute. We have 1 minute left. What do you want everybody to know?
I think just bottom line is, make talent acquisition your number one priority. And then once you do that, look for ways to really be different and stand out from your competition and do things better than they do, right? And the third message is, be genuine and authentic, and make sure that whatever it is that you do, you're proud of, and that you can stand behind, right? And last but not least, which kind of ties in, I'm happy to help those that are listening or watching this broadcast, is have a plan that leads to a much more positive outcome, and really lay down your goals and be specific and be unwavering, right? Get someone on your team that helps you move the dial and change your current paradigm and results. And that's what we're here for.
Well, that's a wrap. 2:00 exactly. So we're gonna shut down now. To everybody, we're gonna put all the links below so you can reach out with Steve and get some advice and help him to, or help you to get this right. Talent's important. You got to get it. You got to have the right culture to make it happen and keep them. So good luck, everybody. Until the next issue, we shall talk to you again. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.
All right.